Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Markus Potter, and I'm proud to serve as Assistant Professor of Performance here at KU's Department of Theater and Dance. We're joining you today from the traditional land of the Kickapoo, Ka, Oyate, and Wajeshe, who are the original stewards of this land. I wanted to send a special thank you to our incredibly brave students from both the musical theater and directing course, both of which I had the great privilege of teaching this semester. I wanted to also thank our commissioned composers, Nathan Tysen, Janine McGuire, Arri, Lawton, Simon, Riley Thomas, Shelbie Rassler, Ryan McCall, and Andrew Beall. You all made this collaboration something that we will treasure for the rest of our lives. Thank you kindly for your generosity. As of today, December 8th, the moment I'm recording this, 2020, we've lost over 283,000 lives due to COVID. This number is, of course, staggering, but it's easy for us to start thinking of this group of folks as a statistic. But we want to come together today in shared community to remind everyone that these were individuals with family members who love them desperately. Some that have fallen are as young as 2 months old. Some are more than 100 years old. We're here to honor some of the folks that have fallen and to celebrate life. Thank you for being here. Now here is 283,000 lives and counting. Thank you.
P. Weissenborn was 100% Irish and incredibly proud. She celebrated her 100th birthday with an Irish band and a bagpiper. She was known for a sharp mind, witty conversation, and a beautiful smile.
Mr. German, 91, came from poverty in North Carolina and worked at the White House for 55 years as a butler, cleaner, and doorman.
Terrence McNally, 81, was a prolific and much-honored playwright who rose to the forefront of American theater with his humane and lyrical style.
Jay was known to enjoy being on stage, specifically when singing karaoke. He was unashamed to call the Backstreet Boys his favorite group. He was unapologetically true to himself.
Floyd Cardoz brought his native Indian cooking to New York City, blending the two cultures together through food. Winner of Top Chef Masters, he was known as the godfather of modern Indian cuisine.
Hattie ran a bakery with her husband in San Francisco's Japantown for nearly 50 years. But when she was diagnosed with lung cancer, she continued to work through chemotherapy with so much grace and optimism. And with a little scarf adorning her head, she just very much reminds me of my own grandmother, who treated strangers like dear friends and showed her love for others in the form of cooking.
Tom Dempsey was a kicker in the NFL for 11 seasons, despite being born with no toes on his right foot. He is an inspiration to all, and proof that if you believe in yourself, you can make it, no matter the down or distance.
Andy loved to barbecue while listening to oldies, and nothing made him happier than seeing the smiles on the faces of those he fed. He used to take dinner to his wife after her long shifts at the emergency room, and also her coworkers. Her coworkers would jokingly ask, "What's our husband bringing us for dinner today?"
Hello, my name is Abigail Stowe.
And I'm Asher Susky, and our song is A Ride to Remember,
which we collaborated with Janine McGuire and Arri Simon, otherwise known as McGuire and Simon.
Our song was based on the life of a woman named Deborah Gallagher. We were really drawn to her story because she was just this strong, eccentric old woman who would drive around town in a Volkswagen Bug with flames painted on the side.
Collaborating with Janine and Arri was such an incredible, eye-opening experience. I have personally never written a song before, and one statement that I really took to heart was nothing is stupid and nothing is sacred. We just worked on throwing anything and everything out on the page and just making it our own. I think this assignment is super important because we were looking at the numbers and statistics, and we were able to put names and faces and stories behind them, and it just really gave me a new perspective on this virus and what it's doing to our world. Our song is told from the perspective of her son as he happens upon her collapsed on the kitchen floor. He calls 911, and as the EMTs are arriving, he states the condition his mother is in and asks them to please be gentle and take care of her.
She's lying on the kitchen floor. She's recently come to. Thank you for your time, and I know it's what you do, but please be gentle, please take care. You've got precious cargo there. She always was a burning flame, independent and bold, always dressed in fire engine red, but had a heart of gold. Tough and charismatic, so much to admire. My mother was the type who set the room on fire. With painted flames upon her car, like the fire in her soul, her red-hot spirit sizzled. She could fill any role. It's her play we live in, her world to inspire. She made it turn, made it burn. She set the world on fire. She set the world on fire. So sound the sirens, flash the light, tell her everything will be alright. She always loved the spotlight, her whole life through. Let's make her exit special, it's the least that we could do. So clear the highway, make no delay. Let her brilliant plays lead the way. If it's time for her inferno to fade down to an ember, all I ask is give her a right to remember. It's difficult to comprehend that this could end her story. If she has to go tonight, let it be in a blaze of glory. I thought she'd live forever, but if it's her time to retire, she'll always be that burning star who set our hearts on fire. She'll always be that burning star who set our hearts on
Dr. Joseph worked in the critical care unit. He would always schedule himself to work, Thanksgiving and Christmas, so that his colleagues could go home and spend time with their families.
Gary Bowie, 59, counseled and helped those diagnosed with HIV/AIDS through the Being Alive HIV nonprofit.
DJ, 28, grew up in foster care. He'll be remembered as an advocate for other children in the foster care system and for young people with disabilities.
Miss Winalda was only 4'11", but when she walked into a room, she stood 10 feet tall. She always found time to help others, such as working as a nurse, fostering children, and connecting immigrants with lawyers. She always told her children, even if you don't have $1, you can always offer a smile and kind words.
Dr. Zhao, 75, an elementary school psychologist from the Congo, dedicated his life to helping young children of color in order to make a difference for his students.
James Arthur Harris, also known as the American wrestler Kamala. One reason why I chose Kamala is because of his background. Like, he grew up in the South. His dad died at a young age. He had to try to provide for his family by working, and he never seemed to catch a break. He didn't have time to pursue the stuff that he wanted to do because he was always taking care of other people. And when he was in high school, he ended up dropping out and he began to get into the crime scene. And the police came to him and said, if you don't leave town, you are going to end up dead. So he moved, and at that moment when he moved, one of his friends came up to him and was like, hey, you should wrestle. And at that moment, his career began, and he didn't even know it. He did not even know it. It came to him. And then throughout his life, he began to find this passion and love for this thing that all of us in the world are just trying to find. And because I'm a martial artist, and whenever I'm looking at like the struggles that I have, whether it's school or I can't get something with martial arts or whatever it may be, I'm like, I am so blessed to have the life that I do. How can this man grow up from that and become this amazing, amazing wrestler? I need to be grateful for what I have and realize that my struggles I can get through them. If James Arthur Harris can get through his, I can get through mine, and that inspires me. And I hope that this song inspires you too, because it really is written from my heart and from my co-songwriter's heart. And I hope that the message of you can do this, don't let the world knock you down, I hope that message gets to you.
Watching the pain crackle on his skin, the light hits his face, it is time to win. Hearing the crowd and the music played, now he's got his getaway. Keep fighting for my love, and hold your head up in the ring. Give him your best swing. Fight for everything. He was born in the South, a brother to four, who both was always at his door. Son of a dead man working till dawn, his life a sentence that runs on. It runs on. He dropped out of school and stole to survive. The ring was the thing keeping him alive. He stepped through the ropes and he didn't stop. He's gonna wrestle to the top, to the top. Watching the pain crackle on his skin, the light hits his face, it is time to win. Hearing the crowd and the music play, now he's got his getaway. Keep fighting for my love, and hold your head up in the ring. Give him your best swing. Fight for everything. It rings in my ears, the loud applause, as he repeatedly beat the odds. And just like Kamala, I'll find my way, and I'll keep fighting every day, every day. Watching the pain crackle on his skin, the light hits his face, it is time to win. Hearing the crowd and the music play, this is how to get away. Keep fighting for my love, and hold your head up in the ring. Give him your best swing. Fight for everything. Keep fighting for my love. Watching the pain crackle on his skin, and hold your head up in the ring. Give him your best swing. Crowd and music play. Fight for everything, everything.
Brittany was a nurse working in a dementia care facility. She was the first of many infected in an outbreak at her work. Her sister said that helping people made her happy. In a terrifying situation, quarantined alone in a hotel room, she continued to do just that, and she did it safely.
Judy, 63, was a perinatal clinical nurse specialist. In the same month Judy had contracted the virus, she had finalized her greatest endeavor, creating a maternity triage acuity index for pregnant women.
James was a doctor working in an ICU. In his 40 years of service, he treated patients during the HIV and AIDS epidemic and helped injured survivors of the September 11th attacks. He postponed his retirement to help fight COVID-19. He was brave and dedicated, and he still found it in him to be kind to everyone in his life.
R. Kirkbride, 99, had worked as a police officer and spent 6 decades as a firefighter and fire chief. He spent his life on the front lines.
Dr. Alice treated countless patients who were drug addicts, AIDS patients, and prostitutes. In addition to her 2 daughters, she had 10 grandchildren and 14 great-grandchildren.
Gary Bowie was an AIDS activist in Los Angeles. He went out of his way to make sure that nobody else would feel the hopelessness and terror that he did when he was diagnosed with AIDS in the 1980s. I chose to write about Gary because I sympathized with the way that he went out of his way to help people in whatever way he knew how, helping the LGBTQ community in his own way. Everyday Heroes is a piece that focuses on celebrating life rather than mourning death.
Lavelle McGuire was a mother to 3 children, but a mother figure to dozens of others. She worked at a troubled children's home and was in charge of bringing home the runaways. She made sure everybody felt loved and that they belonged somewhere.
Erica was the first member of the LAPD to contract coronavirus. She was a mask advocate and had dreams of one day opening up a food truck following in her grandmother's footsteps. I chose to write about Erica because she was only 30 years old, just starting her life and career when it all was cut short. Working with Riley Thomas was such an eye-opening and wonderful experience. Corbin, Adam, and I had never written a song before, but with his amazing leadership and our passion for this project, we created Everyday Heroes.
Welcome. So good to see you.
What can I get you?
Hello.
Thomas, what a treat. I'm so glad that you could make it. Danny, what a handsome coat. Won't you let me take it? Sydney, that's the nicest dress I think I've ever seen. Allow me to present my children, Peter, Paul, and Jean. Thomas, go with Peter. Make a salad, not a mess. Rosé is such a gentle green. Toss it with finesse. Sydney, you and Jean have some potatoes that need peeling. Mash them in the bowl. I shouldn't find them on the ceiling. Danny, there's a chance that milk expired. Check the label. Then you and Paul can find the extra chairs and set the table. Every child, no matter if they're 0 or 18, deserves the kind of love I have for Peter, Paul, and Jean. Order up. I'm starting the next shift. Business should start picking up. Hang up the vest and cuffs. Trade them in for this old truck and its scuffs. What can I get you today? I'll serve it up with a smile like always. Turkey club, whiter wheat, no small feet. I'll always be here for you. It's my job to help you through. Cooking up hope is only where it starts. Turning full stomachs into full hearts.
Welcome one and welcome all to this gorgeous dining hall. We're here to celebrate your lives that are so grand but once felt small. I was diagnosed in '83. Didn't look so bright for me. A life of hard work stripped away, crashing down in just one day. Here you'll meet a lot of folks
Back at the office, where to begin?
who lost their smile and the humor in their jokes,
Files and files I get lost in.
who fought the stigma and the shame,
will answer the call.
but now who proudly share their name.
Time to break up a wall.
There's more to life than this disease. There's hope to find and days to seize.
I need to know that you are safe and dignified. My arms are open and filled with pride.
me should be a shining light, stand in your corner while you fight your fight. Helping the helpless matters the most. We want to thrive, not to coast. Mending the broken and those in need. Our success helps others succeed. We'll always be here for you. It's our job to help you through horrible problems can be taken in stride with everyday heroes by your side.
吕文亮是一个武汉医院的医生，他给当地医院发送了未知病因肺炎的紧急警告，他成为了疫情的吹哨人。政府因为他散布谣言而警告，他病逝后被赦免，而且他所在的医院被人叫做吹哨人医院。Wen Liang Li was a Chinese doctor who worked at a hospital in Wuhan. He issued emergency warnings to local hospitals about a number of mysterious pneumonia cases. He became a whistleblower after sharing reports about the virus. He was summoned and admonished by government for making false comments and spreading rumors. He was exonerated after he died of COVID-19.
Raphael was a self-trained artist and labored in his apartment for years, until he got his own gallery in New York. He said, "There's a saying, everyone writes poems at 15. Real poets write them at 50.
Nick Cordero made his off-Broadway debut in 2009, playing the title role in The Toxic Avenger. He joined the national touring company of Rock of Ages and later played the role on Broadway. Cordero was nominated for a Tony Award for his performance as Cheech in Bullets Over Broadway. In 2016, Cordero starred in Waitress, the first show I ever saw on Broadway. Many of Nick's closest colleagues say they've never met a kinder soul.
Fernando, true and dedicated to his art, achieved underground fame as part of the radical art explosion in the mid-70s. He helped bring graffiti back to the New York subways.
Yu Liwa, 90, wrote, "Bring the wisdom of China that is by no means inferior. Bring our unique diligence and resilience. And don't forget to bring your self-respect for yourself and your nation. Come and stand with your head held high in order to speak to Chinese immigrants and warn them against losing their ties to their heritage."
Bradley was a magician, known for his ability to do more than perform illusions, but tell stories. After a year of teaching elementary school, he became known for his ability to teach children mathematics through magic. He is remembered by loved ones as more than a good performer, but a good listener.
Brandon was a saxophone player, born and raised in Kansas City, Kansas. When he was a child, he was miraculously healed of sickle cell anemia. And since then, he devoted his life to God, performing in churches in 5 different continents. He's also a fellow Jayhawk, having earned his PhD from KU in 2015.
Dariana, 15, loved music and dancing and dreamed of someday becoming a cosmetologist. She was healthy and had no pre-existing conditions.
Nina Popova, 97, was a celebrated ballet dancer who escaped the Nazis in Paris and the Bolsheviks in Russia. In 1975, she came back to New York to continue her teaching. At the age of 95, she got bored in physical therapy and put on one last show for everyone.
John Prine was a raspy-voiced Heartland troubadour who wrote and performed songs about faded hopes, failing marriages, flies in the kitchen, and the desperation of people just getting by. He was, as one of his songs put it, the bard of broken hearts and dirty windows.
Anna, 91, an LGBTQ+ activist, valued all forms of life and diversity in America, taking her children to Black churches and protests.
I worked with composer Andrew Beall to develop and perform our original song, I Hate New York. The year is 1987. After being well into retirement in the Florida Del Rey, a mother received a call from her son that he was dying of AIDS. Ashamed by his diagnosis and troubled by the fact that he was gay, she traveled to New York City to be with him in his final days, all the while keeping it a secret from family and friends. They could never know. At night, she would sit inside Nathan's famous hot dog stand in Times Square and repeat to herself over and over, "I hate New York. I hate New York. I hate New York." This is where our song was born, from a mother who was struggling to come to terms with her situation and her son. Following his death, she became an AIDS advocate and worked with families and patients to understand this difficult situation that she had also encountered in her life. Here is I Hate New York.
I waited for an hour and this hot dog tastes like shit. My waiter needs a shower, this whole night's turning sour. In terms of last minute vacations, this really isn't it. 1987, the year I retired in this crapshoot town filled with murder for hire. I never really wanted much, if he would only keep in touch. Every night I want to scream, get me out of this city, take me anywhere but here. I hate New York. When I leave, I'll pop the cork. I hate New York. Hot dog filled with fake pork. I hate New York. New York, take me away. He called me, so I came his way. I already missed the Coral Bay. Now I'm on the subway. It's not like home in Delray. Getting eyed up by some hobo. He's trying to make a play. Imagine me on the shore in the sun sipping pina coladas with worries next to nada. You'd think for such a strong Christian I'd have more faith than to question why his life was cut so short. Get me out of this city, take me anywhere but here. I hate New York. When I leave, I'll pop the cork. I hate New York. I can't sleep 'cause my neighbor's blasting Bjork. New York, don't take him away. 1,000 miles to be by his side. Can't count on 10 fingers how much I have cried. And to think all 'cause my son, my pride, moved to this hellhole, then had to lie about who he was and being alright. Until one summer day I'm hopping a flight because my son's life flickers tonight. Everything I ever knew, ever thought, ever asked, ever believed, my worst nightmare conceived. Now I don't care about religious belief. I only want to hold him, give him some relief. Nothing else matters but seeing his smile. I want to spread his light, stick around a while. Here we are in this city, in spite of everything, I'm here. I hate New York. He loved New York. I hate New York. New York, you took my son away. New York, you gave me purpose to stay. The thing is, after he died, I didn't leave. I became close with his friends and volunteered for Miracle House, a charity that provided suffering families with housing and support. For broken mothers, I was someone who understood. For cast-out victims, I was by their side, and I'll never leave. Never.
Hello, my name is Mickey Pluta.
And I'm PJ Montour.
And we wrote 2 songs based off the life of Landon Sprodlin. The People Have Spoken in a one-man duet.
In collaboration with our composer, Ryan McCall. The People Have Spoken is about 2 different viewpoints about how we need to combat this virus.
Death has always loomed large in my family, so when we stumbled upon this individual, it gave me a chance to explore what it meant to die with regrets, what it meant to have something in your past that you wish you hadn't done, had something in your future you really wanted to do, and actually look at what a legacy is. Because a legacy isn't the things you wish you could have done, it's the things you have done. It's the person you are.
Hello,
My name is Ryan McCall. I'm one of the composers on this project. I worked with Mickey Pluta and PJ Mansour on the two songs, The People Have Spoken and One Man Duet. I'd like to take some time to speak to you about the composition of these two pieces, specifically The People Have Spoken. In a minute, you'll hear the song sung by me. But really, this song is a large ensemble piece, broken up into two groups. The anti-maskers, who are led by our main character, and the people who believe in wearing masks. I think what Mickey and PJ have done here with this song is not only show the complete divide that this country is on wearing masks and not wearing masks, but also they've shown that when generations look back at this time, they'll realize that Americans were more divided than maybe ever in their history. And it's not just about wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. It's deeper than that. It's the idea of protecting each other, of looking at your fellow human and saying, I will wear this mask to protect you, or I will fight for your rights. That's what this song means. Care about your fellow Americans. Care about your fellow humans. This song actually touches very close to me right now. I'm on day 12 of my COVID quarantine. I tested positive. I'm asymptomatic. I'm the reason people need to wear masks. My mask protects you. If my wife would not have had symptoms, I would not have known that I had this disease, this virus. And if I would have been an anti-masker, I could have spread this. We must take this seriously. Wear your mask. Get tested if you have symptoms. Thank you, and enjoy the songs.
They want closed spaces, a bunch of covered faces. 6 feet in places is outside one of those cases. Who's to say? Not them. They want closed doors, lock down all our stores. This nation's at war, our president needs 4 more. Who's to say? Not them. We have the right. There's a bill of them. We have the might. Fight for them. Without the mask. No mask. Against the fight. Who's to say? Not them. Now hold on. Can I say something real fast? Maybe wearing a mask isn't such a bad thing. Pity the loss of families you've come across. You are blind, not an open mind. Who's to say? Not them. You have no right. Yes, we do. You have no might. The First Amendment. Without the mask. No masks. You push the fight. You're wrong. The people can be free. You're wrong. Won't you hear our plea? This divided country. The people have spoken. Don't you see, the numbers are fake, and America just needs a break, and the media is a deadly snake. I said the media is a deadly snake. I said the media is a deadly snake. We have the right. You have no right. We have the right. You have no might. Without the mask. Without the mask. You push the fight. You're wrong. The people can be free. You're wrong. Won't you hear our plea in this divided country? In a world that is so broken, in this divided country, the people have spoken. Hello, Mr. Death. Are you here to steal my breath? You've been there for us all. The old friend we've never met. A one-man duet. Just do it already. Keep your hands steady. Finish me off. Get it over with fast. Would you even answer if I asked? So much left undone. People left to sway. Say goodbye to my son. I've been faithful. I pray every day. Hello, Mr. Death. How do I sound? Do I have enough breath left for a one-man duet?
Allie's mom said, "I could not understand what was taking so long to get her into the ambulance and get her to the hospital." Allie was only 25 and was recently engaged to her boyfriend. They were planning their wedding for June 2021.
Mr. Robinson never forgot who his wife and sons were despite his Alzheimer's.
M. Armour received a positive COVID test after several weeks of symptoms and having been denied a test twice due to not being at risk. She was placed into a coma and never woke up.
Tommy and Doris Brown swore that they would always be with each other. And they kept that vow with their crazy, notebook-esque powerful love. And they died on the same day, despite battling COVID in separate hospitals.
I'm Trinity. Rachel and I decided to write a song based on the life of 37-year-old Andrea Mammon. She was a clinical psychiatrist and she was married with a 2-year-old son named Russell. We chose Andrea's story so that we could provide representation for the younger generations that are affected by COVID and because those around her were drastically impacted by her death.
I'm Rachel, and working with Shelbie Rassler was a very smooth process. We told her vaguely what we wanted out of the song, but she provided with flying colors. She was super receptive to each of our ideas and wanted to make sure our end product was exactly what we wanted.
This project is important to us because we wanted to tell the world that Andrea's life was not just another statistic, that she was a mother and she was a wife and her life has meaning, and so does yours.
I
to say goodbye. Mommy doesn't feel well. Please